Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Allison, for that kind introduction. And thank you, Lars and Andrew. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. What an honor it is to speak at this semester's last Newman Lumen on the topic of dreaming. I've had a chance to hear what other speakers have shared this past year, and what has been shared has been truly tremendous. There's power when we share our dreams. There's hope when we share our dreams. So I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity to share this space with you today. I want to begin by acknowledging my father and my mother, Reginald and Bernice Johnson, because they dreamed unapologetically, as one of our speakers, Daniel Castillo, would say. My siblings and I were able to dream unapologetically as well. For 19 years, I've had the pleasure of living one of my dreams every day, and that is being an international educator, where I had the privilege of working with students to fulfill one of their dreams. One of these reasons why I'm so passionate about working with students is my own winding journey of studying abroad, which I would like to share with the Elon community today. I'm a little bit emotional because they announced Gilman Scholarship winners, and I looked at the list and I'm like, oh my gosh, the students that I worked with won some money, so that always makes me happy, so bear with me. Like many Elon students, I entered college with the dream of studying abroad during my undergraduate experience. When I was in the 11th grade, I had the opportunity to participate in a mini exchange when my high school partnered with a high school in the suburbs of Paris, France. Interested students were matched up with students learning English, and we shared letters during the fall. In the spring, my partner, who was named Laura, spent 2 weeks with my family, and in turn, I spent 2 weeks with her family. It was an exhilarating experience, and it convinced me that I should study abroad during my collegiate career. There was only one issue. I have an autoimmune disorder, polyarticular rheumatoid arthritis, which I was diagnosed with at the age of 10. Rheumatoid arthritis, or RA, is when the immune system mistakenly attacks the lining of the joints, causing a painful swelling that can eventually result in bone erosion and joint deformity. Doctors have many theories about how an individual may come to have RA, but do not have an exact cause, and there is no cure. There's also no mechanism to reverse joint damage. So by the time I was 12, my left hip had been completely damaged by RA, and doctors projected that I would eventually need hip replacement surgery. When I entered Spelman College as a first-year student, I was on 3 concurrent medications. I visited the rheumatologist every 8 weeks, and I completed blood work on the same schedule. And yet, I still carried my dream of studying abroad. My parents were very supportive of my decision to participate in a 4-week summer faculty-led program in Martinique after my first year, and it went amazingly well. But my big dream, the dream that I brought with me to Spelman, was to study abroad for my entire junior year. Going abroad for 4 weeks worked very easily into my appointment schedule and my testing regime. But studying abroad for a year, how would I be able to figure that out? I approached the planning process with passion. I spent all the first semester of my sophomore year researching programs and found an amazing program in Strasbourg, France. I aggressively researched scholarship opportunities to cover the gap. I was on a full scholarship at Spelman, and my parents didn't have the funds to cover an entire year. Landing scholarship money would be key. I felt like everything was heading in the right direction, but at the beginning of January, things began to take an unexpected turn. My rheumatoid arthritis, which seemed to be under control, started causing problems. My damaged left hip started to ache again, a sharp, incessant pain that would not go away, even when lying down. Other joints, such as my knees and hands, also started to cause issues. As January rolled into February, with the pain still persisting, I reached out to my rheumatologist in Atlanta. Upon reviewing my medications and in consultation with my rheumatologist in New Jersey, she decided that the best course of action would be to overhaul my treatment plan, and so began the process of replacing medications that I had been on for years with more modern treatments. She sent me to physical therapy twice a week to strengthen my joints, and I worked with a therapist in the therapy pool. The journey towards stability, however, was slow. This was also the first time that I had to manage a flare independently. My parents were always in my corner, but they were in New Jersey, and I was 800 miles away in Atlanta. There was only so much that they can do from afar. Each morning when I got up, I cried. I cried getting dressed, and I cried walking to class. I cried every time I stood up from a desk because of the amount of pain that I was in. I was typing essays with swollen fingers, and on some days it was hard to extend my hands. I started to miss classes, and I completely dropped extracurricular activities to focus on keeping up. I needed to retain my GPA to keep my current scholarship. My physical therapist strongly encouraged me to get a cane to assist me with walking. Despite my difficulty, I refused, fearing the jabs that may come from other students. I had grown up with being made fun of on occasion by ignorant people, and I sought desperately to fit in. Even with attending a historically Black women's college, I worried about how my disability may be perceived. At the time, I didn't recognize it, but as an adult, I realized that I was struggling with ableism, both society's and my own internalized ableism that I had learned. The question remained, how was I going to get all this done? How was I going to accomplish my dream? Despite the obstacles with my health, I continued to research scholarship options. One opportunity that I identified was the 4-year fellowship program called the Institute for International Public Policy, or IIPP. IIPP was a federally funded program designed to prepare students of color for professions in international affairs. So this was my intended career trajectory after college. As part of the program components, IIPP covered 1/2 of the cost of a semester abroad, which is actually what I needed. However, the program only had 20 slots, and it was a nationally competitive program. Students from all over the country were going to be applying. It was intriguing, but I did doubt my ability to be accepted into the program. But I decided to step out on faith, and I put my heart into the application, submitting it right on the due date. A few weeks later, I was excited to see an email from the program in my inbox. I opened it up excitedly, and it notified me that I had been waitlisted for the program. I was deeply disappointed, but a still small voice said not to give up. I turned to my faith to get me through. I blasted Kurt Franklin's New Nation Project, which at the time was considered a bit controversial because of the hip-hop nature of the album. I spent late nights writing in my prayer journal about my worries about making study abroad work, my worries about navigating a future with this body, my worries about finding a partner and starting a family with the level of pain and disruption that my chronic illness had brought. It was all a lot for my 20-year-old self to deal with. One morning in late April, I woke up filled with anxiety and filled with doubt, carrying the weight of trying to make everything work. Time was running out. I started my day slowly, and later in the morning, I returned to my dorm room. So there had been a message that had come in on my answering machine while I had been out. When I listened to the voicemail, it was from the assistant director of the IIPP program. Lo and behold, a student had dropped out, a spot had been opened, and I had been accepted into the program. I had secured the money that I needed to study abroad for a year, just a few weeks before the end of the semester. Now that I could financially afford the program, the question of my health was still an issue. I started the first component of my fellowship program, a summer policy institute at Clark Atlanta University. My new drug cocktail, however, seemed slow to take effect. I still maneuvered my days with much pain and with many tears. My rheumatologist in New Jersey, who was deeply committed to seeing my success, adjusted my meds over the summer to try to stabilize the flare. After trying a medication that caused adverse side effects, we finally landed on a medication regime that seemed to work. Still walking with a limp, my older sister, who has always known how to talk to me, approached me tentatively with a familiar proposition. "I understand why you may not want a cane," she told me gently. "But what if you have an Afrocentric cane?" That idea perked me up a bit. So I agreed, and we drove to Quaker Bridge Mall in New Jersey, and I picked out a beautifully adorned African-inspired cane. On the August day that I left for the JFK airport, my parents took a photo of me on our front porch with my suitcases, my new cane as well. In my backpack, I had a detailed list of my medical history from my rheumatologist in France and my vacation supply for most of the medication that I would need for fall semester. I would still need to get refills in France for the last month, but we had a plan. It had taken 8 months of recovery for getting over my flare to become under control. With the support of my village, I had accomplished my dream. As much as I would like to tie a cute little bow on what I've shared, in truth, during my junior year abroad, my medication regime changed a number of times. I have a very complicated story for that. But even when achieving my dreams, it was messy and things were difficult. But preparing for my junior year abroad and the experience of my junior year abroad has greatly shaped how I navigate my adult life and how I view the significance of dreaming. Dreaming has continued to sustain my hope when the path ahead becomes rocky and unpredictable, and when I have encountered dead ends. I've learned that there are dreams that have to change due to life's curveballs, but that it's okay to grieve their loss. I've learned that new dreams can grow. The older I've become, dreaming has become a form of resistance, a way of rejecting US society's limits on what it means to be a Black woman with a disability. I have started to embrace dreaming as a revolutionary act, an act not just for myself, but for my family and for the many communities which I share. So as we close this busy academic year and hopefully into a more restful season, my wish for members of the Elon community is that we would all have the space to be reinvigorated by our dreams that we each hold. If no one has said to you this year, I would like to tell you that your dreams matter. Your dreams hold significance. The journey may be rough. You may have to change course, but keep on persisting. Your dreams are not just for you. They are for the people who come after you. I believe in you. Thank you.